Alright guys, so I did decide to do the rear on another day, since yesterday I kind of took my time with the fronts and it definitely took a lot longer than I expected it to. The most difficult part was the spring compressors. That was a pain. If it wasn't for the spring compressors, it probably would have taken definitely half the time. So but we're gonna go ahead and do the back now. I actually already did the other side because I wanted to do that first before I recorded, so that way I didn't do a lot of time wasting. And because yesterday my battery died because I was recording like everything. So I did the other side first, and good thing I did, because there were some issues that I kind of ran into that now I know better for the other side, and I could explain to you what those were. So first things first, we're going to make sure that we have the subframe supported. And you know, I'm new to all this, so I was a little unsure where to put the jack. I mean, I was fairly certain that I could just put it in the spot that I was thinking about, but you know, there's that a little bit of uncertainty, like, oh, maybe this is the wrong spot. You know, I tried to get best view possible from some of the videos online, and sometimes, you know, the videos they kind of show you generally where it is, but not exactly where it is. I didn't undo the subframe bolts completely. I just loosened them and watched where it was coming down and where it needed to be. So here, I'll show you where. I actually had to use a little block too because my jack doesn't go high enough. So right there is where I'm putting it. So you can see. So we got that in place. I didn't really jack it up. It's just there just so when it comes down, the jack will catch it. What we're gonna do is we want to disconnect this brake line, so that way there's a little bit of slack here. Since the subframe is dropping down, we don't want this to be attached because it may pull on the line. 13mm socket. Take out the bolt. Alright, so that's it. So that's just gonna hang loose like there. The next thing is we're gonna disconnect the strut and take it completely out. It's just easier that way, I found. And I believe why is everyone's always doing the lawn work when I try to record? The upper bolts up here are 18, and now they might be a little bit tight, so I don't know if my impact gun is gonna get them. No, so my impact gun will not get those off. My impact gun is old, and they're not tight. I mean, it's a very minimal effort really to get them off, as long as you have a larger style bar to get them off. They're not tight at all. So we'll get that one, and I'll get this one. This one I have like zero room to work because the bar is in the way. Let's see, how about, yeah, we'll throw an extension on there. Alright, I think they should be loose enough now that I could use my impact wrench or gun, drill gun, impact drill gun. Alright, so that's the two on the top. Then we got it's attached down there at the bottom. Okay, so that is going to be 2 bolts down here, one right there, one right there. Okay, now with both of those out, we can remove the strut. And with the Accelatec CJ Pony Parts springs, I don't know about other ones, but with this one in particular, with this set, it does come with new bump stops. So first thing, let's take off this top nut. That's also 15 millimeter. Okay. And we'll take off this piece right here. What I found is just to step on it and take that off first. And that comes off pretty easily. Alright, and just take the bump stop. The flap part goes towards the top. This may be a little challenging to get on. Because there we go. Now it's on. And now just put the cover back on. The next thing is to drop the subframe. So this is where I was very nervous on the other side. So what I did, and if you're nervous about this, you know, just don't back them out all the way, because you know, I was really worried about taking the bolts out and it not going back in. It was really no problem at all, as long, you know, don't do both at the same time. That's the biggest thing. Like, both sides, do not try to do them both at the same time. Only remove the subframe bolts on one side at a time. So if you want to take like a slow approach to it, just back the bolts out until, you know, like almost halfway, and then drop the subframe a little bit and see how it comes down. If you've never done this before, see how it comes down and get a feel for how it works. In the front, there's 2 bolts. Or 2 bolts up here. One, 2. We're gonna loosen those 2, and so it's a 13. And you can see there they are right there. So those are the 2 bolts that hold that cradle in place. There is the subframe bolt. So we're gonna take out these 2 bolts first. Once you get it loose, should be able to get it going with the impact. Alright, there that is. And I'm just going to put this back in here just for a minute until I get the other one out, just in case. I'm just going to leave it loose. Yeah, just in case something goes wrong with whatever I got set up here, you know, I'm just to be safe. That's what I'm doing. And then here's the other subframe bolt right here. And that one you're going to need a pretty good extension for. I got a 10-inch extension. Okay, so what I've done here is I've completely backed out the two screws, or the two bolts, and you see how they're loose and there's some gap here in between the support, the subframe, and the bolt. Same thing over here, right? So since there's a gap there, I know that my jack is supporting the weight of the subframe. So now I feel comfortable taking them out. Okay? That was the only reason I had left them in there. So next thing I'll do is lower down the subframe. So we can get the spring out. Now, the subframe, it doesn't come like, it won't like just plop out. So right now, my jack is completely separated from it. You can see, if I can get to it under here. We need that extra room down there to push this down. So you're never going to get that spring out unless you push down on this like that. And now I'm going to need two hands. Alright, almost there. You just get this piece out of the way. There we go. One thing to note is that the bottom of the spring, the end of it, I don't know if you can see, it might be too dark, but there's a bump, there's a stop, like a ledge down here that the end of the spring needs to go right up against. Just make sure you have that there. Alright, and the same thing is true with the top piece here, so just make sure that it goes to the end. Maybe if I just put it up a little bit. Point where it starts grabbing there. And then I can just slide it over. Maybe. Like that. And now it's in place. You can start lifting up the subframe. Now at this point, we can see if we can get those subframe bolts back in. And CJ Pony Parts, as a reference, mentioned to make sure to hand thread these first. So we will do that. Alright, before you tighten anything down, you want to get these other bolts in here too if you can. Alright, start to tighten these down. Alright, next step is to torque the subframe bolts to 129 foot-pounds. We got to put this top piece back onto the strut, and this is specific in the way that it's supposed to sit. So number one, these should be facing down. The angle should be, the top is more towards you and the bottom is further away from you. So get that back on. You could always refer to the other side if you aren't sure. $15mm socket. And then I had already taken this cap off before, so that's the one piece that I missed before. It's easy. It's just like a clip. It just pops right on. So. It may be difficult to get that there underneath those. And so it has to be actually, it has to go down at least like a ½ an inch. Push down push down on your rotor or something, and then you'll be able to get that in there.
ves? Más o menos.
Throw our bolts back in. Put the brake line clip back in. That completes our spring installation. So I'm gonna lower her down. I'm gonna double check everything first, and then we'll lower her down and take a look.